G'day, guys. Welcome back to the SuperCoach Swordplay podcast. This is Season 3, Episode 6, the Round 8 review, then Round 9 preview. I'm joined by my co-hosts, SuperCoach with DR and Spills. We had, I'd say, best night last Friday night, not as a Blues fan, but as just getting to meet each other. It was a brilliant night. DR, Spills, you guys want to elaborate on that? Your thoughts?
Oh, yeah, likewise. Absolutely great. I did mention my round review, mate, that we've chatted, I don't know how many times through Skype and StreamYard, whatever we do, but we'd never actually met up in person. So you did not disappoint, mate. You were an absolute legend. Fantastic to meet you, mate. And Spills, obviously great to spend the night with you as well, mate. We've obviously caught up many times over the past now. But look, not that I want to rub anything in, Janath, but I got to meet a few legends during the night. Brisbane had a good win. And my boy, Josh Dunkley, I tell you what a phenomenal game from him. What a joy it was to see live from a Brisbane supporter's point of view. So the night could not have gone any better, gents. Could not have gone any better. And Spills, I tell you what, mate, do you just want to share what scarf you had around your neck?
Just for the night. It lasted a lot quicker than, well, definitely quicker than a Snapchat streak or a story. It was a short-term thing. It was a 2-hour, 3-hour thing. But, yeah, jumped on the Brisbane boys. And, of course, Benny from Insider let me know about that. He doesn't miss anything, that bloke. Another diehard Brisbane supporter. And,
Yes.
The photo on Twitter, which we'll definitely get into. But, it was great. There we go. So, obviously I've got the Sandhurst hoodie on. So we sort of wear Dragons colours, which is very similar to Brisbane. And then we got the scarf as well. I couldn't find the Guernsey, so I could have had the whole attire DR, but it was great to jump on the bandwagon. And more importantly, sorry, Janath, but see the Blues go down on a Friday night.
Full of sympathy, Spills, aren't you, mate?
Spills, at least you should join in the booing off our... We started booing our own players at three-quarter time. Not personally, but there was a lot of boos going around at three-quarter time.
I was still booing Danaher. Like I was hot on him. He kicked that unreal goal from 60. I was like, "You're still shit, Joe. You have him."
What about Hipwood? What about Hipwood? You're a bad bloke, Hipwood.
It was funny. Like,
don't kick it to Eric.
We were all in unison at stages. Like Chincotta's going for a goal. We're all getting around each other. Come on, mate. Come on. Yes. No, not quite there. Hipwood gets the ball. Boo, Eric. Boo, Eric. We were on the same page many times during the game. Obviously, with the SuperCoach relevant players that we had. And that's a great thing about SuperCoach, isn't it? You can actually cheer on some opposition players. And if they go well, it doesn't actually break your heart. And as I said, we had Chincotta in this week. I thought he played a terrific game. So your Carlton player goes really well and your own team wins. Yeah, it's a fantastic feeling. But, as you know, the weekend for me anyway went a little bit downhill after that. But, Janath, how'd you enjoy the night, mates?
I think it was good. I think at one point I was pretty funny. Connor McKenna was taking a kick in and you were cheering. I was like, it must be pretty dire if you're celebrating the kick in.
Didn't even play on at one point.
Oh, yeah, I know. That was bad. Yeah.
But it was a brilliant night, which, I mean, without further ado, we might as well get into our weeks. I guess my week was a tale of two stories, two games, really. The first one, I brought the gold back from a couple of weeks ago because how good was Errol Goulden against Collingwood? 156 SuperCoach points, 0% CBAs, but he had a game high 7 clearances. That is a ridiculous stat line, which we'll delve into in my numbers, which might mean that he's got a triple-double. We'll see about that. But yes, into 4.5K, no Zeeble. That's the problem. And I think every single one of those cheap kick-ins or the cheap marks, and he's just racking them up, and St Kilda just don't care because he has no impact on the game. So he's just doing his own thing. I felt like everyone had him as well and still somehow climbed the ranks. So, I mean, no Clary, no Zeeble at the moment. And if you climb the ranks, no Anderson, which was the big one last week, brought it up on the potty, but just didn't follow through. So, I mean, good place, well placed. Hopefully more rank rise to come. We'll go to you, DR. How was your week? How was your SuperCoach? I think you have something to share.
Look, mate, it wasn't too bad. Look, if you watch my round review, anyone that watched that, you know that I ended up doing myself a bit of mischief, ended up basically knocking myself out on late Saturday morning, and was out basically for the whole weekend. So did not watch a single AFL game, apart from obviously the live one that we went to on the Friday night. So very much a different week for me. And when I did log in, I saw a 23-27. I thought, here we go. I've got a pretty good score here, but then I realized it was only around the top 14%, I think, for the round. So a little bit disappointing, but I did manage to go up almost 500 spots, sitting around 16K now, which was, a big improvement since the start of the season. But if I had have been able to change up a few things, and that rank would look a lot more friendly. I end up having Taranto as a vice captain. I had Madden as a captain, so I thought just top of my head that I'd had it on Bont. He was going to be my backup if Taranto didn't go like a 125 plus. So lost a few points there, which was disappointing. Obviously, Ridley was a killer, getting concussed. Yeah, that was just terrible. And I did go on a rant last night, and it was so bad that I couldn't even upload it. I went absolutely off, and I'm blaming concussion for it, because Spills got a little bit angry after his concussion the other week, wanted to take on the whole of the opposition side, just wanted blood, was thirsty for blood. So I was a little bit the same last night and absolutely gave it to Willie Rolly, I tell you that. But pretty much it for me. Out last week was Setterfield and Fergus Green in Steele and Chincotta. Mixed results there, I think. And the headline is, and this may give a little bit of a clue as to my trades for this week, I'm rowing out of here. I'm gone. So a little bit cryptic, but yeah, that's my headline for the week. So Spilsy, how about yourself, mate? Did you manage to outscore me this week? Because you've been talking leagues, I'm giving up on overall. But are you back in the hunt now, mate? Did you have a decent week?
Bit of a butterfly effect here, because my mindset's changed. I'm only playing for leagues, but I still keep climbing the ranks. So it's a funny one. So we scored 118, I think, off the top of my head. It was a top 4% score, nice, which is unbelievable considering that I had LDU's 59. I won't swear on the podcast, but yeah, not very good, boys. I was pretty flat about that on the the graveyard shift. That was the Sunday night, one of the worst games I've seen, but that's another story. And then Sean Darcy 77 on field also did me no favors. So under the circumstances, lads, that's a pretty good score. We're into the top 12% overall now. So look, we're around the mark. It's not a brilliant season, but yeah, we definitely made some. If it wasn't for that 2 captaincy, I always bring that up, we'd probably be ranked pretty highly at the moment. That was unbelievable how much that killed my season. But yeah, doing good things since then, and yeah, a bit rattled on my trade plans. I'm not really sure what to do, but yeah, currently ranked 22K. So look, I'll take that. It's a really competitive game, and you've got to get everything right, and I haven't this year, so it shows. So yeah, onwards and upwards from here, boys. But as well as we're going, we're still playing for leagues, even though I'm looking at some really aggressive, stupid trades this week that go against everything I've been saying.
Love it.
The last 2 or 3 weeks. But
love it, Spills. We'll talk a bit more about the buys, which I think is what your remedy will be. I guess just quickly, didn't mention I got 2381. So in the sandwich between you both. And yeah, the trades last week, traded out Setterfield as well, and brought in Jack Sinclair. That was the main sort of trade centered there. I guess without further ado, we shall get on to DR's rant. I'm looking forward to this one. Where are we heading this week, mate?
Look, it's a little bit of a different one. Not really Supercoach related here. I'm not really Supercoach related, but I haven't even mentioned this to you boys, actually. But after the game, getting to that train station, Spills, you left early. You left at 3/4 time, mate. I'd never seen the train station, this is Southern Cross, that full before. We got stuck, so we sort of tapped in, and then we got stuck just before you actually go down the stairs and, the escalator and all that. Absolute sardines type stuff. It was terrible. Poor Lisa's, he's got this weird guy breathing on her, all over, just getting close to me, all the funny people started to come out, it was unreal. But anyway, right, we finally get down there. And there's this lovely bloke. I was actually having a bit of a chat with him, right? And he was in a wheelchair. And he had basically the first spot, And the train comes and there's a million people everywhere. But the doors literally open basically close to being right in front of him. Like he's almost, center. We're talking here. But the poor bloke, right, almost goes to start the wheels, and people are literally almost jumping over this poor fella, racing in front of him. And the poor bloke, actually, he was the first in line, didn't actually get to board the train. It was bloody terrible, right? He's asking nicely. He's like, oh, please, could you, could someone help me in? And I was doing my best, right, trying to help this fella. But it was like a stampede. If you've seen The Lion King, when Simba loses his old man, it was like that. It was just terrible. And it's like, come on, people. Show a bit of bloody compassion, a little bit of empathy here. Let the poor bloke on. It was just terrible. So, yeah, we won't swear, but to the people that jumped over this poor fella and, it was all about themselves, come on, be better than that. And to the other bloke that did manage to get on, the attitude that he had is like, oh, well, that's life, mate. We'll grab the next one. So really, really nice dude as well. So sorry that happened to you, mate, but people, be better. Look after each other. We need to be kinder to each other, boys. So not really SuperCoach related, but just want to give a bit of a rocket to those people that we're all thinking about themselves. Ran over, boys.
Well, you got to have some sort of consideration, don't you? Especially for those who are in that sort of position to say goodbyes, unable to walk. I mean, yeah, cut them some slack. Even if you got a broken collarbone and you're in a sling or you're on crutches, like even the elderly, like you just got to look after those people on those seats, and you reserve them as well. It's just an act of kindness that I think everyone should do. I understand that obviously in that situation there are a lot of people, and especially Carlton supporters, Janath, like yourself, mate, just want to beat the traffic home. I definitely did, but you got to be pretty nice to those sort of people. But at the same time, get there early. I got there, I think it was about 15 minutes to go of the game, and I had time to go to Hungry Jack's, get something to eat. I was the first person on the Bendigo train, got myself a really nice seat, had me dinner before anyone came on the train, and then before you know, it was absolutely chaos. But the early bird gets the worm, lads. So there's that side as well. But understand your frustration, DR. Very unfortunate.
To bookend all of this, I'd say from Abs Magic, it's nice to be important, but it's important to be nice. I think that's words of wisdom, isn't it?
Yeah, words of wisdom.
All right, so it is true words of wisdom. All right, well, we'll get on to Spills, your rookies. We don't have a graphic this week because I think it's very limited, the field that we have to play with. And I guess we'll talk a bit more about it in the mailbag. But who are the main options in just a very straightforward way that we could be considering as downgrade targets this week?
Well, it's three off the top of my head. Number one, by a long way, is Weddle. And he hasn't even really set the world on fire. It's a funny one. He's on the bubble this week. They scored another score in the 50s. I think his job security is pretty good short term anyway. I feel like Hawthorn will definitely persist with him. They've waited on him a little bit. They could have debuted him in round one. There was plenty of talk around that. So he's the one that I'm going for. But then you've also got Rory Atkins as well in the same position, but for 70 to 80K more. It's, how much are you willing to pay? I get that Rory's averaging another 5 or 10 points, I'm pretty sure, on top, if that. Hasn't been doing great things, but don't know if you touched on the fact that he's played on off every single kick out, so there's some positives, but job security is at grouse. I'm not sure. Couldn't really break into the Crows team. It's one that I'm not really willing to gamble 200 plus K on. He's one that I think he's a fine option if you want to go there, but I'd be more than happy to just bank the money because money's critical this year, especially those downgrade options. So he's not one I'm really considering unless you guys want to add anything there. And then of course the third bloke is Blake Jury. He's another one, 102K like Sin Cotter, which we absolutely love. But look, we want to go early on him. We've got another week to assess it, see if he actually, well, for starters, gets up in a consecutive week. But it's Joshy Weddle for me, boys. Anything you want to add to that?
Look, to be honest, you know what? It's really hard, right? I think you underestimate how tough it is to give a really valid opinion on a bloke that's played a couple of games when you've missed a whole week of football. So I still literally haven't watched the match, as I said, from the first one. Right. So you look at the score with Weddle. So it was like a 54, just say a mid-50s. I think it was a 38 in round one. So scoring potential isn't off the charts. He comes with a bit of an elevated price. But I was having a chat with Anthony Wellham. Shout out to you, Anthony, on Twitter earlier today. And he asked me, well, why are you going Weddle? Because I'm looking to trade in Weddle myself this week. And pretty much my response was, he's the best option that I think we have available. You know, it's not like I'm really keen on Weddle or anything like that. It's like, well, when you compare him to the other options that we've got, he's probably the one that makes the most sense. I'd be very tempted to go on Drury. I thought, you know, looking at the stats, that seemed like he went out of the game for the one quarter, but then came back in the last quarter, tried to have a little bit of an impact. Seems like he worked pretty hard during the game. So, you know, I'd be tempted to go on someone early like him. But the worst thing you want to do is go early on someone and have another dead rookie. We've got buys coming up. It is just so super dangerous. You know, it is super dangerous. If he gets sub next week, you know, you just don't know what's going to happen. So for me, Weddle seems the safest. But in saying that, I'm not saying he's ultra safe. I feel that he's the safest at the price. Probably Atkins to me has better job security, the safer pick for me. But 200K, we're all about making money.
It's a lot to cough up.
Yeah, if you're trading down from, all right, so we're looking at a McKenna, you're making what, 100K. Wilmot, you're making 35 to 40K. You're probably not going early on a Seamus, but you're making bugger all. Yeah, so you wouldn't do that. You're making bugger all. Whereas your Weddle, you're talking extra 70K. An extra 70K can go a long way. Believe me, when I was bloody $1,400 away from doing a 2-trade Oliver in this week, I can't believe my luck. That should have been my rant again, but I've already ranted about this money situation with trades being $200 bloody down. But anyway, that's pretty much the way that I feel about it. You know, I feel that Weddle comes at the best price. Well, Drew comes at the best price, but we don't have that security of even getting a third game. If Weddle's named this week, we're getting that security. We're saving 70K. I don't think that going Atkins will give you enough downgrade money in return, depending on who you're going to. Sorry, that was probably a long answer, but Janath, anything to add from you there, mate?
No, that was really good in terms of how you view Weddle. You don't view him as a must-have because of the play he is. You view him as a must-have because of the field around him. If we're considering the fact that Weddle may just be out this week, he could be the one that goes out for Janath when he comes in.
Absolutely.
And so this poses the issues that, okay, if Weddle is out, do we all board the Blake Jury ship a week early, or do we start to consider someone like a Mitchell Nevitt, who looked really good when Patrick Dangerfield went off 177K because he was a sub, I think, a couple of times, and then I think this might have been actually his 4th game. But then we have Rory Atkins, who at 203K, I think we need to think more holistically than just the fact that he is 200K. Because when you think about his buy, same goes with Nevitt, they both have the good round 13 buy. And so if Atkins holds through the buys, he'll actually save your trade. If I know every year we get this position where we have 17 playing players and we're like, all right, I've got to use a trade to get this 18th player on. But if you plan ahead for that with someone like an Atkins or a Nevitt, or I don't know, just another rookie that has a friendly buy that doesn't have the first buy, because normally we want to discard our rookies at their buy, maybe Atkins poses a better proposition than we're considering right now. In my opinion, I'd be going Weddle if I'm not boosting. But if boosting to get in Atkins means that you can go from a Mills to a Clary or Noah Anderson, that's something that I think is really, really something that I would be considering. You get 2 Gold Coast players that have a good buy, and means you may not need to use another trade in that buy period to get an 18th playing player on your field. Is that something that we're sort of underplaying here, do we think?
Definitely, mate.
So you could be looking at them as a combo, Janath, an Atkins,
possibly
Anderson combo, and looking at the buys there. Because the thing is, when we look at those 2 teams, I don't know if I should probably save this for the buy talk, but just very quickly, we've got probably Tom Stewart in our sides. We don't have Tuke anymore. Like, what other Geelong or Gold Coast players do we have? Maybe some Wits owners there in the ruck.
Powell. I've seen some Powell owners.
We've all got bloody Constable. That's no good. Powell, you know, there might have been a few that jumped on Powell. So look, it's a play, isn't it? It's a combo play. Interesting.
Don't mind it. Depends if he's named or not as well.
We won't talk too much Anderson now, because we will get to him when we open the mailbag, because I know that we've got a few questions on Anderson this week, and I can absolutely understand why, though. But I think that's pretty much it for the rookie review, boys. Probably those three. And look, it's team dependent, I think, as well. Always a lot, very team dependent.
Yeah. Awesome. So I think we might get into my numbers now, and we have a first for 2023. And to DR, your eyes weren't lying to you when you were thinking that Josh Dunkley was having a blind on Friday, because he had the very first triple-double. A triple-double. So when you get 10 marks and 10 tackles, you tick off 2 categories, and he got his contested possessions. That's what we classify as a quadruple-double. If he kicked 5 goals, he would have got it. Give him everything. Give him the quintuple-double. He's a madman, Josh Dunkley. What a game. Being able to see that live, that was incredible. Saki Merritt, I think he's one that we'll definitely talk about next week. Even very slightly, this is just my opinion, but his career high, the team that he averages the most points against is Brisbane, and he plays them this week. So if some of you want to go a bit early on him, I've got the stats here. He averages 114.8 against Brisbane, and that's the highest he averages against any team. So just wait and see. Maybe he's probably peak for the picking next week. And then we have Errol Goulden there. What a game on Saturday afternoon. 37 disposals, 13 marks, 13 contested possessions, 7 clearances, all without a single centre bounce appearance. And also, I know some of you guys will be able to empathise out there, but Fan Footy was not updating from the middle of the third quarter all the way through to the end of the game. So we have Errol Goulden. I know, DR, it's probably good that you weren't watching, because you would have been fuming. He was 117 halfway through the third, and everyone's SuperCoach scores stopped moving. And you're seeing Goulden get kicks, marks. He's got one whole wing to himself, and he's getting all these possessions, and he's not moving. Like, what's happening? What's happening? It turns out that Fan Footy, or even the SuperCoach app, like, that wasn't updated as well with the live scores. You're like, oh, here we go. Here's the fantasy freaker not having Goulden robbery happening. But no, it just turns out that all the SuperCoach scores just stopped. But luckily, Goulden got to 156, which is brilliant. He's averaging over 100 now, which is great. And then we see some of the close calls. I know there's a lot of SuperCoach relevance in there. Sam Walsh, close call, couldn't get to 10 tackles. Max Holmes is someone that I think we might be talking about as one of those potential Geelong players that has a really nice 5-round average over 100. Rory Laird, the desk, 14 tackles, but I'm really disappointed that his disposals seem to have regressed a lot. He's not picking it up in terms of the in and under handballs and all that.
Everything has regressed.
Yeah. 21 disposals isn't enough to get 150. We know that, because he doesn't impact the scoreboard either. So hopefully we'll see some positive regression in that. Tom Green stat line, how about that? 38 disposals, 9 tackles, 14 contested possessions, 8 clearances, 3 goals. He went at 60% disposal efficiency.
Oh, so that
was the only thing holding him back from a monster score.
Yeah, like I look at that and I'm thinking 200. I mean,
easily.
That's a pretty phenomenal stat line there, isn't there? 38, 9, 14, 8, and 3. That's nuts.
And 2 of those goals were in the fourth quarter, when the game was on the line as well. So you're like, positive scaling. Come on.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's
interesting
performance.
Yeah, unreal.
This is pretty good work you got here, Janath. I love this all these triple-double segments. They never fail to disappoint. You've almost convinced me yet again to jump on. I've wanted all these options for this week, and then you've gone out with the Zach Merritt against Brisbane. I mean, just to throw another banner in the works. So thanks for that, mate. But Josh Dunkley, boys, that is unreal from him.
That is unreal.
A clear winner of the Rob Dogs Cup, like quite comfortably. He was a star. So
that's right.
And well done to anyone who VC'd. Have to say, with the overwhelming push on the Taranto VC against West Coast, if you went Josh Dunkley, you got was a 149.
Yeah.
Bravo. I think that's now 4 straight Friday night VCs that if you went the Dacos, I'm forgetting some, but Dacos, Bont, Marshall, Dunkley, if you went those 4 in a row, you're laughing. So well done to all of you. I reckon we'll move on to a little bit of buy talk now. So I guess this is a bit of an impromptu segment, but I just want to get you guys' thoughts on the buys. Is it too early to start planning? Would you structure your moves around the buys? Are you guys faced with any buy dilemmas yourself? I'll just open this conversation by saying, would you bring in a Noah Anderson over Clayton Oliver purely because of their buys? DR, what do you reckon?
I wouldn't purely because of the buys. I think that, look, I'm really starting to look at my buy structure at the moment. And to answer, I suppose, your first question there about should we start looking at it, I already am now, because in my position, particularly being so far back from, that top 1%, I'm asking myself, well, what can I do to really gain some ground on the top teams? And I think that through the buy period, if I plan really, really well for that, there's a chance for me. There's a chance for me to move up even 5,000 spots into the top 10K. That's a real goal for me by the end of the buys at least. So for me, I'm really starting to take it into account, because I think if you don't now, if you've got, for example, 8 or more premiums from a particular buy, you're in big trouble that week, and if you pump out something like a 1,400 type score, you could lose so much ground just within the single week. And I understand that obviously the other weeks you'll be set a lot better than what you are. But for me, I'm definitely taking into account and looking at my buy structure. What is it, round 14, I think it is. I only had the 3 premiums that were missing in round 14, 3 premiums. So I thought I've probably actually got to start looking to invest in players in that particular buy. And that's what I've based my trades around this week. So I've actually bought 2 premiums in at this stage in that round 14 buy. And all of a sudden I'm up to 5 now, and it feels a lot more balanced. So for me, I'm not targeting any round 15 players because I've already got 7 there at the moment. I think I'm probably capped there. And the good thing is that having lots of players on that last buy, I can upgrade, your hoppers before he's got that buy, hopefully, if I don't already upgrade him before then. I've got some plans in place, hopefully. So for me, yes, I do take into account the buys from now, very, very much so. But I may be in my own boat there. Spills, how about you, mate? You taking them into account yet? Or you reckon we've got a week, 2, maybe more? And how are you feeling, mate?
Yeah, it's a funny one. Definitely taking them into account, but not going over the top with it. I'm not going to let it mess up my structure. Like when you got Jack Sinclair there for a really low break even and an obvious top 6 looking defender, I find that pretty hard to pass up. I think the only thing I wouldn't really do is, I wouldn't go a Sicily type when you've already got Day in the same sort of line. I'm a massive advocate for, I don't know if this is too early to say or not, but I'm pretty tempted to get rid of Marshall for Gawn, so I'm not hurt so much in the rucks for that one particular buy when Darcy and Rowan share the same buy. So just little things to take into account like that. But in terms of how I want my team to look and which players I'm really targeting, it's not really something that I lose sleep over. But yeah, obviously I'm not going to load up on a line of players that share a very similar buy. Tom Stewart helps as well in defence. He was a really obvious one to get in a while back because you always factor in that buy, and yeah, even Wits as a starting pick. There was heaps of speculation, and I had the exact same logistics when I jumped on Tuke Miller, but unfortunately it wasn't meant to be, boys, as you know. And Anderson right in front of us. We will dive into that soon, but he's sitting right in front of us with the lowest break even ever and the best buy ever. So make of that what you will, but it's those sort of players that are going to help your season. But yeah, don't take it too seriously, but I do factor in a few things, if that makes sense.
For all 4 buy structure, round 12, round 13, 14, and 15, your best 18 scores on your field or your emergencies will count to your overall score. And with that being said, Spills, if you really wanted to trade out of a donut, same for you, DR, what about Jared Witz? Is he someone that's entered your frame of mind, plays West Coast this week? So he's got the Bailey Williams matchup this week, and you will play through all three of your other buyers because you would have who would you have? A Sean Darcy and Jared Witz setup. So you'd have at least one ruck in all 4 of those weeks.
I'd definitely consider, particularly look, if you're a Grundy owner, that could definitely be something. It's like if you've still got Grundy, like you need to get rid of him. You desperately, you should have done it a couple of weeks
ago.
Got him
in draft.
If you still got him, you got him in draft, do you? Well, you take that more seriously than Classic half the time.
Season over.
Season over. I'll trade you for Hickey or someone, mate. Or who have I got? Me.
Peanut. Peanut, let him.
You can have him.
Peanut.
Oh, the Peanut. I refuse.
I had him, but I delisted him.
Go on, DR.
Good man.
What were you saying? So if you're a Grundy owner, would you go to Witz?
I'd seriously consider it. Because I think he seems like a pretty safe ruck. And that buy, as you said, he'll be able to cover for all the important ones. And I don't think you're going to miss him because unless you've got him, Anderson, Stewart, and I don't know who else you're going to have, you'll easily be able to field 18 players. That's such a safe buy.
Yeah.
And it's so handy having a couple of premiums from there that you just know are going to fill in for the rest of that period. So something that I'd definitely consider. He's not in the hottest of form, but we know that he started off the year really well. Hopefully he's over that injury now. Got a great matchup this week. It could be a really good time to get a big spike score and get him rolling again, mate. Get him confident again.
I will answer your question there, Janath, why I think, because Asava's not really a bad on-field option. I mean, let's hope that when we do need him for that buy, it won't happen, obviously, because it is Murphy's Law, but he's so capable of a high 80s score. We've seen it a few times.
88.
88. That's his favourite number. 88. He loves an 88. And I think Gawn over Rowan is a really good move. There's that DPP rumour so having him being able to go forward with Asava would be just so handy. Yeah. And he's got Hawthorn this week, who he just jumps every single year. I don't think I've ever had Gawn in my team in the last 2 or 3 years when he's been up against Hawthorn. It pains me to watch every single time. So there's a little bit of a pod as well. So that against Hawthorn, he just dominates. Is that a thing? I think so. It's a weird one because you look at what Hawthorn did to Darcy in English last couple of weeks, but last year Gawn went 175 on them, or maybe it was the year before, I can't remember. And then there was another one in 2020, the COVID year, where he nearly went 200. Look into that if you want.
I remember that. You are right. He's gone 172 in 2 of his last 3 games against Hawthorn. Wow. Yeah,
so he's someone that I do really like, and I think the double ruck split will actually hurt Reeves a fair bit. So for that price, boys, what's he, low 500K? Yeah. Oh, far out. I love it. Love it as a pick, but I don't love using a boost to trade Rowan out if it's a minor injury.
That is what I was going to say is
could be a game changer.
Is that the fact with Rowan is that so apparently he wasn't hurt. So he got injured, DR, because you didn't watch it. He got injured, did his ankle, but he was just managing. He could have come back on if it was a close game. So what you guys are basically trying to do is you're trading out a premium for someone that you see has better scope and potentially DPP on the other side at a cheaper price, bank the cash and use that money and just hope that you still get to full premium even by sideways in a premium. That's where I see how you guys are doing this move, right?
Yeah, well, just very quickly, just to explain the move that I'm looking to make. I wanted to trade in Oliver just in the 2 trades. As I said, I was about 1,400 down. And then I was thinking, look, do I go early on a Drury from a Roaston type, Rouston? I still don't know how to pronounce his name. Let's call it Rouston. And then I thought, well, do you know what? Again, I don't want to go early, So I thought I need to think outside the box here. And that's when I came to the conclusion. I looked at my premiums. I said, is there any one of these premiums that I would be prepared to let go for someone that I rate equally to them that's currently at a lower price that will facilitate some moves in the future? And then I sort of got to Rowan, And I thought, geez, he's actually at a decent price here at the moment. He's made a decent amount of coin after that big score. Low break even at 54. And then I came to Max Gawn and I thought, I'm almost making 60K here, going from Gawn down to Marshall. I need someone, an extra person from that buy, so it works well there. I really rate Gawn. And the other thing that came to mind as well, and Spills mentioned it, possible DPP, could even swing him into the forward line, opens up the possibility of being able to trade in a Tim English, for example, if I really wanted to.
I was going to say that, DR.
Yeah, and it also allows me, it's probably going to give me as much money as what I'd get downgrading another dead rookie in Roaston, for example, or even a Matty Roberts to a Drury. And again, I don't want to go early. So that's the logic for me, but that may be a bit team dependent. It allows me to do other things and get Clary in this week with break even under 100. So that's my circumstance anyway, mate.
Great chat there, boys. I think it's not simple to say if you do this, everyone should do this. It's so team dependent. And I think a really team dependent call that's going to be coming up is Noah Anderson. I know the great man Katta on Twitter, one of your questions was, is Noah Anderson a trap or not? Well, I've sort of dived into the numbers a little bit and tried to break down where Noah Anderson's positive regression is coming from. Well, positive regression is coming from without Tuke Miller. So what we can see is that SuperCoach points in 2 games, thanks, Bills, has jumped up 68.7 points per game. Now, it's a small sample size, but the fact that he scored 98 in 6 games with Tuke Miller, and that included a really high score. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I think it was a 130 plus. Against St Kilda, it was a 134. So he does have a good score within that 98. Let's try to figure out where his sort of differences are coming from, and I've sort of written a thread up for a new page, which we sort of come up with called Third Man Ups. DR, you'll be able to show that after this. But what we see is that his kicks have gone up 0.7. His contested possessions have gone up 4 a game. So that's 18 points SuperCoach wise as to what's contributing to this difference between him playing with Miller versus without. His tackles have gone up 1.8. So that's another 7.2 points. And his marks have gone up 2.7. So if we add this all together, that sort of comes to about 34 points. So what I mean is the kicks, contested possessions, tackles, marks. When you add these points together, that's about 34 points. His disposals have gone up 8.8, which is majorly made of handballs. So we'll say that's about another 2 points per, 17 points. So really there, that really contributes to about 55 points of that difference. And I imagine he kicked a goal in clutch time versus Melbourne. And that might contribute that other 6 to 12 point difference. So you can clearly see that the majority of the point differential coming with Tuke Miller versus without Tuke Miller is coming from his contested possessions. And it's coming from the fact that he is now their number 1 extractor without Tuke Miller. Him and Matty Rao are dominating the clearances for Gold Coast. And I can see that continuing until Tuke Miller comes in. The fact is that he won't have the ceiling when Tuke Miller comes in, but he is that good of a player that he will still have the floor. He's currently averaging 115. I can't see him dropping below 110 for the rest of the season, even when Tuke Miller comes into the team. And that's based off of the statistical analyses that shows that his kicks don't change much. And that's really big because an effective kick is worth 4 points each. If he has 17 and a half kicks and 60% of them are effective, that's at least 50 points right there.
I'll tell you what, Janath.
Put this all together, what is your opinion, guys, on bringing Noah Anderson in? Go on, Spills.
Oh, I'll tell you what, it's such a long season, SuperCoach, and things can change so quickly. This is his first 3 games, boy. Against Sydney, 91 Essendon, 71 Geelong. So at that point in time, you're probably thinking, far out, why did I pick Anderson over LDU, who's averaging 149 at that point of the season? And then all of a sudden, LDU's hit a wall I know for a fact he's in my team for God's sake. But yeah, you got buddy Anderson just dominating without Took, and the numbers suggest that. And what makes it really hard is his buy is spectacular. His break even is just gorgeous. I mean, 9, we love that. You want to jump on. You don't really see a 600k player with a break even as a single digit. It's uncanny. It's unheard of. And he's got West Coast this week on the first game of the Saturday, which is the easiest VC of your life. Should beat up on them without Took. But Janath, what happens when Took comes back? Is this scoring? Is this 115 average sustainable? I don't really know. At the moment, I'm looking at trading Anderson in this week. I hope you can convince me to go through with that. But I do worry what happens when Took comes back. Does his average all of a sudden plummet and get closer to what we saw in the first 3 games?
Well, what we might remember is that in the game that Took Miller got injured, Spills, you would know this very vividly. He was actually playing a little bit on the wing. So Took Miller wasn't around the ball as much as we would have hoped.
I know he does. I know he did, Janath. I watched him like a player.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But it almost feels as though that it's a handing off the torch moment to the man that eats grass, Matty Rao, and to his best mate, Anderson.
What is he doing?
So I think he's a herbivore, clearly. But I think that given his bye, if we jumped on last week was the week to just jump in.
Imagine if you did.
Be happy with yourself that you weren't going points chasing. And we were so close. I was talking with so many people. I know the Rain Man was all over it in the preseason that Noah Anderson is the guy. And this time he goes 189. That ceiling, we don't see that ceiling much.
Against quality opposition as well,
against
Jana.
quality
Melbourne
midfield.
That's
huge.
a point that I was going to bring up. He's
and
done
Richmond
it against,
as well. The previous week, who are not
against
arguably
the best midfield in Melbourne. Yeah. God knows what he's going to do against West Coast this week, and it doesn't always work out like that. I understand. I'm not expecting a score bigger than this, just because they're playing West Coast. Like we're not expecting this. Just because he's gone this high against Melbourne doesn't mean he's going to get a 387 against West Coast, in the coming week, right?
Yeah.
But another thing, now I'm not sure if this is just my eye test, right? But one thing that I've never really, and this may just be personal with me, I've never really associated Anderson with is being a clean user of the ball. It may be just the games that I've watched, but I've seen so many hack kicks in the past, and he's never been a player who I've thought he's going to have high disposal efficiency, which is really going to help his ceiling. But in the last 2 weeks, he's gone at 81% and 81%. Now, this is just a complete guess, but I am estimating for Anderson that they must be close to season highs. And given the fact that he got so much of the ball, 81% is even more impressive. We're not talking like he got 20 possessions and 81% of those are effective. He's getting it, more than 30 a week. What's he averaging? 34.5 over the last 2 weeks. And 81% with 34.5 posies with almost a direct 1-to-1 kick to handball ratio. What is it? 35 and 34. So almost 1-to-1. Yeah, that's pretty impressive for me. So I'm not sure if that's really improved over the last couple of weeks, which is something we take into consideration. I should have checked what that efficiency was like before that.
Yeah.
But to my eye, he's never really been a clean user. So 81%, I really like that.
Can I add to that as well, DR? Both of those 80% plus games were in pretty tricky conditions too. So you got Gold Coast Heritage Bank Stadium it was a night game, especially towards the twilight game.
Dewy
very dewy, tough conditions. And then the Anzac Day E4 it was raining most of the night then. So it has proven that he can use it in pretty tricky conditions. And he was going up against pretty harsh midfield. I mean, unless you're Kane Corns, Richmond's midfield is not too bad. Like Taranto's a hard winning ball winner, Hopper in there. They're tough nuts, and it's hard to get possessions against those guys unless you know Anderson. So is this a breakout for him? Is he going to continue this up? In summary, Janath, is he a good pick? Just what do you reckon?
In one word, yes. To bookend this,
jump on.
DR. Yes, and I will clarify my final summation.
Nice.
So Noah Anderson has a higher kicking efficiency this year than Caleb Sarong and Clayton Oliver. So Anderson's going to 55.9% by foot, Sarong 55.6, Oliver 54.1. So if we're worried about his kicking efficiency, he still racks up that much of the ball that he's not Jordan Dawson, but he's better than your Tarantos, your Olivers, who are still SuperCoach performers. They perform well in SuperCoach just because of the sheer numbers they rack up. His buy, the fact that Took still doesn't have a return date. And
I noticed that.
I'm convinced. I think he's gone in for surgery. Correct me if I'm wrong. Surgery's on your knees.
Rest up.
Surgery's on your knees, on his knee. He's not going to be back soon, let's say, in the short term. Maybe not in the intermediate term. And Spills, the West Coast game is actually on Friday night. So that we have a double head on Friday with overlapping games, which is
Did I say first one Saturday?
It's not the first one on Saturday. It's a Friday night game in Perth, which is very interesting.
That's
following Richmond Geelong, but it's like at the same time, which is confusing. So don't VC.
What's the point of that?
Don't VC someone and see Noah Anderson. They're playing at the same time.
Yeah.
And then he's got 2 games in Darwin. He's got a game against the Bulldogs and a game against Adelaide in Darwin. And now this might be something that I might look into in the coming week, but I get the feeling that midfielders perform better in Darwin in more humid conditions with more stoppages. The ball is like a bar of soap. There's less uncontested marks, but that's something we might delve into. So with a bit of support, we might get into that on DR. Do you want to give a little plug?
Oh, well, I'll tell you what. Let's stop talking about Anderson. Bloody hell. He's so convincing.
Get Oliver. Don't let us talk here at DR. If you want Oliver.
Oliver. I finally got the opportunity to get Oliver. Now the little Anderson devil is sitting on my shoulder going, get him in the buy, the this, the that. Took's not. Oh, man. Look, this is why I love chatting with you blokes, because it makes you think differently. You know, I saw the positives to the pick, but bloody hell, we've sold him pretty well here. I tell you what. All right, let's get to this, legends, because Janath, my man, has a new page with one of his mates, Ross, one of his best mates, Ross. If you looked at the pictures from Gather Round, Rossi boy was in there with Janice. So they've got a new page, the Third Man Up. So this is basically all about looking at the numbers that underpin SuperCoach success. So this is absolutely criminal here at the moment with 31 followers. But look, what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at one of these threads here. All right, so we'll quickly take a look at this one here. So currently 13 SuperCoach eligible midfielders averaging 110 plus through 8 rounds of 2023. But are you interested to know what elevates them to generate bulk SuperCoach points on a weekly and consistent basis? So if you look here, Janath, just want to sort of talk us through as we're going through just each section. Might just go through this thread, mate. And if you can sort of explain bit by bit as I go to each one, mate, that'd be fantastic, buddy.
So what we're looking at basically is how we see these players racking up points on a weekly basis, but how does it come about? So what I've sort of done is I've broken it down and found out things like this. So the main things that we're looking for in a SuperCoach midfielder, and I guess this is something we're looking in for with our trade-in targets, but also as lessons for next year when we're starting players. Do they have a high kick percentage with kicking efficiencies? That's the main 2 points there. Do they tackle? So we can see that the Bont leads the league in tackles. And not the league, but he leads these sort of midfielders in tackles, 7.3 games. So that's a tackle is worth 4 points each, and that's possibly 30 points a game right there. If you get a couple of holding the ball calls, if you get the subsequent possessions that come off of that, that's really elevating the floor of a player as well as their ceiling. Contested possessions, so a big drive of Patrick Cripps' scores, Clayton Oliver's scores, Bonsa scores. These are worth about 4.5 points each. So if you get 17.5 contested possessions a game for Patrick Cripps, that's about 70 points. A bit more than 70 points as a baseline if he can get those contested possessions. And then I guess the last thing, which I was sort of rounding out, is that clearances, hard ball gets, these all come together under contested possession because you don't really have a uncontested clearance. If you get a clearance, it's most likely to be under pressure. If you get a hard ball get, it's going to be under pressure. If you get a ground ball get, it's most likely to be under pressure as well. And these all add up. So the final summation we come to is that a high kick to handball ratio with good kicking efficiency, like a Jordan Dawson, strong tackle numbers like a Bontempelli, high contested possession rate like a Patrick Cripps, Clayton Oliver. That's what drives these players' scores. So if you guys are interested more about the stats side of things of SuperCoach, off the AFL, and just this page is more about sports in general. So the motto we've got there is by sports fans for sports fans. So if you're interested in any sport, go for it. Have a look about and give us a follow. We'll be coming out with more threads to follow. If you want to go down, DR, actually, we have a Blake Drury thread. So Ross came up with a Blake Drury thread. He went to the Saints North game. So had a good eye for how Drury was actually playing. If you want to go down a little bit more, there we go. So a thread on Blake Drury. So this is the sort of thing. We're just trying to come up with some information for the community as a whole.
Great stuff, man. That's really good.
Oh, have a look at this. Mate, you may save me some stock market notes. I do the old quarter by quarter for literally every player, right? Oh, this is elite. Someone else is doing it.
This is Ross's work. Brilliant. Ross's work.
Good on. I've never met Ross before. Ross, shout out to you, legend. And I know, mate, I know how much time this would take because most of my weekends are taken up writing SuperCoach notes for the stocky, mate. So this is absolutely elite, Ross. I will definitely have a good read of that. So, guys, make sure that you start following Third Man Up. I'll tell you what, that is absolutely elite. Absolutely elite. Going to be the new kids on the block here, Janath. I'll tell you what, mate. Fantastic, buddy.
Cheers,
all right,
guys.
let's get
into the mailbag,
mate. All right, so let's get to these questions here. My man Ango, let's go. I'll tell you what, that looks like me, doesn't it? The old rock there. I wish. Thanks, Ango. Always appreciate the support, legend. SuperCoach Pleb, how are you, man? All right, so first question for the week. I got more pressing disasters to fix than Grundy. You poor bugger. He must be going rough at the moment, buddy. What can he potentially score against the Hawks this round? Break even is entering stratospheric heights. Yours sincerely, please help me. So, look, I've got the last 4 scores against Hawks ruckman here. So we've had Flynn GWS with an 84. Rob, he's not the best ruckman, with 76. English is a fantastic ruckman, only a 90. And he did play against Shrek last week, only the 77 from the big Shrek. So, look, mate, what can he potentially score? Well, if English is going 90, it's not looking fantastic, mate. If you can pull a 75 plus, I think you're looking pretty good. Anything to add to that, fellas, about, say, potential Grundy score this week?
Yeah, I would have said that there, about 75. I think it's probably where he would go. Sorry, big glass half empty there, but Gorn's going to steal the points.
I was going to say, does this not concern you guys about Max Gawn? The fact that Hawthorn with the Reeves Meek combination, they're pretty stingy to actually score against.
I think that he can get a bit.
This isn't Big Ben McAvoy anymore.
Yeah. Look, I think that he can get a bit of an advantage with some big marks up forward. I don't think there's many Hawthorn defenders that can go with him. So I'm actually expecting a few points from his forward time, mate. But maybe a bit of hope there because I'm trading the big man in. All right, let's get to the next one. Good luck this week, Plebby. Causa, talk about a SuperCoach legend. Had a big chat with Causa at the football. So Causa wants to know who is the best for Caminetti and McKenna, a 520k premium and Weddle, or 548 and Drury. Best option from that range, not from round 15 by. So if I can quickly jump in, best option from that range, I think you're probably looking at a few bargains like your Brayshaws, Steele, Mills. They're probably my options at that range. I'm not sure DeGoey. What buy does DeGoey have? I don't think he's got the last buy.
He'd be round 14. Yep.
Yeah, and I'll throw DeGoey in as well. Boys, any other options around that price point for Causa that you'd recommend?
One of Mills or Brayshaw was pretty stock standard. Can't really go wrong.
I think Mills and Brayshaw are just above 520. So if you're looking for a sneaky pick, I know it's a little bit down there, but Max Holmes.
Here we go.
We'll chat a bit about him.
Come on, Janath, turn it up.
Wow.
Goodbye. What do you reckon his 5-round averages, Bills?
Oh, more than you think, but I'm a bit salty because I think I jumped on in draft at one point and
you in the draft.
Shocked me so early. Pissed him off.
No Patrick Dangerfield for a couple of weeks. 103 average. And in his last couple of games, I'm just going to get his CBA numbers up. In his last couple of games, he's had 32, 31, 45, 34% CBAs. And without Dangerfield, if you're really looking in the bargain bin, then Max Holmes might be the play there. If you are looking for someone 548K or under, yep, definitely Mills, Steele, Brayshaw, one of them.
Cool. All right, on to Magic. Magic, absolute legend. Hope you're going well, brother. So I think there's 3 mini questions here. The first one, boys, is Stewart or Anderson. So we don't really need to talk about Anderson in any more great detail. Again, do you need a defender? Do you need a midfielder? But I suppose looking at everything we've just talked about, I'm saying Anderson. Boys, for you, if you had to pick one, so it doesn't matter, defender or midfielder, which player do you like best at
Easily
this point
Anderson,
in time?
this week? For sure.
This week.
Because you can get Tommy Stewart in for 570 like I did, which is perfect. But I'm a bit of a tight ass. I wouldn't pay 600 for him. But Anderson, definitely.
Yep. Janath?
Agree. But I
awesome.
think Tom still will have a big game in this rivalry game. Just say.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, something to take into consideration. All right, the second one, is Atkins the best downgrade option, at least if you can manage it without affecting upgrade cadence? So I think we probably went through the 3 downgrade options when Spills was doing his rookie review. In my humble personal opinion, I don't think he's the best option because I don't think he offers enough value. But if it doesn't affect your upgrade cadence, that's probably the key to the question there. Janath, do you have an opinion on that, mate?
I think he is. He is the best, in my opinion.
You think he is? You give him a tick? Yep.
Lockie Weller is being managed because he's got some soreness in the same knee he did his ACL on. So that's a big tick in terms of his job security. And he's on a 5-year contract. You don't have a player on a 5-year contract sitting on the plane if they're worth it.
They gave 5 years.
Ludicrous.
Shit, that's worse than 7 years for Eric Hipwood, mate. I tell you what. Wow, there we go. And the last one here, if JVR gets off suspension, is it worth holding him? So I think with these questions, it's always team dependent. Like, what other rookies have you got? So if I had a Fergus, for example, I'd be letting Fergus go ahead of someone like a JVR if he's not suspended. But I think
he's suspended. He got it upheld. It was upheld.
Oh, he got it upheld. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
how many weeks?
He's still 2 weeks. So it's just 2 weeks.
Okay, cool. So we don't really need to if he gets off. So that was a question. So thanks, Magic. Good luck with your trade-ins this week, buddy. Next legend is Michatos. How are you, buddy? Cal Mills with Fox and McCartan back. Can we see him stay more in the mid, or is Horse going to ruin my season? Wouldn't it be nice to get into Horse's head? So look, I think that we all view Mills as a potential trade-in option. We like his buy. We think he comes at a really friendly price. But Spills, do you have faith in Horse, mate? Do you think that we can actually trust this man? Or is he going to absolutely screw us? Maybe chuck in midfield for a week and then say, son, down back you go. How much do you trust the great Horse, Spills?
Not much at all, boys. Only the OGs of George will know. But back in the day when he double traded, he in and out. He referred to Longmire as liar, John Longmire. We've seen it with Heaney, and I think we've seen it with Mills. He's got some bias towards Rowbottom and Warner and whoever else is coming up as well. So I'm not as convinced. He's Mr. Fix-It, and he's so bloody good behind the ball as well when they need him. He's a liability, but George did plead a great case on Mills. I think at his price, fantastic. 116 break even. So I think he can wait a week for a little bit of insurance. But at the price, definitely like Brayshaw, as we've discussed. But yeah, it's a tough one, mate. I can't really answer that in the shortest way possible. He's not one I'm looking at, but I don't mind it. he's up
massive
there
ceiling.
in the
Yeah,
mix.
Janath, anything you can add on Millsy there, mate?
Yeah. Let me give you a stat. So last year, Callum Mills had 11 games above 60% CBAs. His average was 120.6.
Nice.
And this year, he's had 2 games above 60% CBAs against Hawthorn round 2 and against Collingwood round 8, and he's averaging 111.5 in those 2 games. So I think
very much up on the season average.
If you think that he's going to average more than 6% CBAs, he doesn't need many CBAs to do damage. And I think that we'll talk about in the next question, but I think Callum Mills is, if I was going for the bargain option, Callum Mills is the one.
But how do you know though? Like,
well,
how do you know he's going to get the CBAs? Didn't he have like 0 the other week, or am I imagining things there?
No, you are right. He had 0 the week that he was matched up against the Richmond mob when against Richmond in Gather Round he had 0. Yeah.
All
right, boys.
Still.
Well, let's go on to the next one. Abs, absolute legends. Well, they're all legends that are commenting and asking questions.
Yeah.
Shout out to you, buddy. All right, Parrish, Mills, Steele, Brayshaw. Everyone's favourite discount mid. I'm finding these questions like super hard to answer. Quickly, with Mills, Steele, and Brayshaw, they all share the same buy. Parrish has a different buy, so that's something you could certainly take into account there. Boys, look, I am going Brayshaw out of that lot myself. Main reason, I think he's been playing hurt to start off the year. This bloke is an MVP from just last year. He's an absolute gun. He hasn't started off like a house on fire, but I've got a bit of faith in Andy Brayshaw. But I'd tell you what, I would not be surprised if any one of these blokes was a top scorer or the bottom scorer out of the 4. So I'm just going to go with Brayshaw, but toss a coin type stuff for me. Spills, who you going with, mate? If you can pick one, only one.
Probably Mills, I reckon.
Millsy, yeah.
Yeah, just we saw against Hawthorn with Brayshaw, and small sample size. Is he going to sustain that sort of scoring? He's playing unfit. We don't know. Price is great, but yeah, I do like Mills. He's got a high ceiling.
That's a really good point. Yeah. Janath, my man.
Just given the numbers with those CBAs, I think Mills. If buys don't matter though, Parrish. They play West Coast and North Melbourne twice each on the run home.
Yeah, absolutely. Good one. All right. Romy, how are you, my boy? So I keep on saying legend. Everyone is. Rory Atkins and Weddle job security. Also, Noah versus value picks like Brayshaw, Mills, Sicily. So, look, I'd be going with Rory Atkins for job security. Boys, would you agree with that? Atkins has the better job security?
Easily.
Cool.
Easily.
Cool. I wouldn't say easily.
Right, so,
yeah, I reckon.
That's because Hawthorn is a very young team, and if they play their cards right, they will play Weddle the rest of the season. But it's Hawthorn, and they're playing Sam Frost as part of their leadership group, so can't tell.
Yeah.
Who went out for him again, Janath? Just quickly
I don't know. I think he came in naturally, but Janath didn't play last week, so
yeah.
How about Scrimshaw?
Janath didn't go out for him. It might have been Scrimshaw. Scrimshaw's playing a bit everywhere this season, so it's very confusing to get a read on who the Hawthorn back 7 is, really.
Yep. Now, I think these 2 questions here, also Noah versus value picks. I think it pretty much goes into James's question here. And shout out to you, James. How you going, champion?
Great, man.
This is a really good question. What point, and I might actually start off answering this, boys, because I'll talk about my personal situation very quickly. What point do we avoid value and go super primo? With the cash potentially drying up on the bench, it's tempting to go value, but this year there's a big gap, and this is so true, between the top 5 players and the rest. Not having Dawson, Oliver, English, Bond will hurt long term. Your views on this? All right, so I'll jump in here, boys. As you know, I'm looking to get Oliver this week. My last 3 trade-ins, and this is why I'm thinking in my personal circumstances, I want to go Oliver this week, because if I look at my past 3 trade-ins, I have focused purely on value. I got Cogs at around the 470 mark. I paid, $450 odd for Will Day, and then it was Jack Steele last week at low to mid 500. So I've been focusing on value for my last 3 picks. And then I look at my side and I count how many premiums I have. And I think with many other sides, I'm like, yeah, I'm on track for the same amount of premiums, or maybe I'm one behind. But then I look more deeply into it and I go, okay, well, who are we calling premiums here? My Shrek to your Tim English. My even Rory Laird to your Clayton Oliver. So there's different levels of primos that we're talking here. You know, if you haven't got Dawson, well, who have you got in place of him? It's someone like Stewart. It's not too bad. But I think at the end of the day, there is a point in time where you've got to look to get some absolute quality in, because these are the blokes that are going to absolutely kill you from week to week. They're consistent. They're the blokes with the high ceilings. And best of all, they're captaincy options. And getting the captain right this year is just so super, super important. So the more options you've got, I think the better. So I think if you're someone that's been focusing on value, maybe for your last few trade-ins, then it's okay to go that real premium pick. But again, if you're looking at your bench, you've got a bunch of dead rookies, I'd probably still be going down the value route myself. But that's personal circumstances. I don't have your English, your Dawson, your Oliver. So I feel like I need to get at least one of those blokes in. And you got to get your timing right. It's Oliver for me this week because his break-even's under 100. You know, is this the lowest we could potentially get him for? I'm not saying it is, but really it potentially could be in a very long time. So it is very much personal circumstances. But boys, that's how I feel. And the best example I could give was what I'm doing with my own side. Does anyone want to jump in there?
It goes back to why you would boost to get Rowan out for Gawn. It makes English a possibility, and that I've still got 19 trades left, and my team's getting there. Like it, not far for a completed side. There's a few lines to go. 4 lines done, only 1 to go in defence. So I think I've been really nice with my team last few weeks, all value-wise. I think we can get away with that sort of premium target. I think Anderson has the ability to do that. But, there's no reason why. I mean, Oliver's going to be hard to trade in, but I don't think it's going to be too hard to get Hopper up to him after the bye. That's sort of what I'm thinking. But I think one way or another, at the end of the season, I will have all those guys in my team. Hopefully. We'll see how we go.
Yep. Awesome. Alrighty. The great Freo Tragic. Sorry, mate, I've cut off half-face there. How are you, legend? Got to have you on the channel again soon, mate. So Mills, still a Brayshaw. We've already answered that. So Mills and Brayshaw. We've had that one, mate. All the best, legend. Stephen, how are you, buddy? Thoughts on Rory Atkins? Again, I think we've probably answered that one for you as well, Steve.
Just a quick, very quick side story.
Sorry, what was that?
Very quick side story, but Stephen and I went to school together. So actually schoolmates, and he's ranked in the top 100 this year, right now.
Oh, Steve,
so, get around him.
Mate, I should be asking you questions. You should be answering the mailbag, Steve.
We'll get Stephen onto the podcast. Mate. I'll get him onto the podcast one time.
Absolutely. Yeah, congrats, Steve. Good on you, buddy. Now, you already mentioned that the great Kata asked this question before, but all I just want to quickly mention is that Kata is one of my favourite people in the SuperCoach community and one of the blokes that I go way, way back with from SuperCoach Talk. So been in Kata's SCT Challenge League for years upon years. So love you, Kata. Shout out to you, my man. Next one, Taylor McKenzie. G'day, Taylor. Is Gooden worth trading in if it means filling my F6 spot? I think the issue here, and I think why he's asking if it means filling that spot, is because you're probably looking at who potentially comes in with that future DPP. We may have a Walsh, a Petrarca, or a Gawn. They're just 3 names that I'm putting out there. I think that Gooden presents extremely good value at the moment. And the other thing that we've got to take into account, mate, is that there's a pretty high chance that a few of our premiums are going to go down with injury again this year. So even though you may have a complete forward line at this stage, who knows in a month's time what that forward line is actually going to look like. You might have some DPP. If you've got a Sheasel or a Jay-Z down there in your forward, for example, could you send them back? There's a few options. So personally, I think it's okay to go Errol. He's had a really solid last couple of weeks. I don't know how on earth he did it playing off a wing, but he did. He showed us for the last couple of weeks he's back in form. Yeah. I think it's okay. Boys, do you think it's okay to bring in Errol, or would you be leaving that spot, assuming that we're going to get a gun available to fill that spot?
It's a precious spot there, and it is point chasing because you didn't get those scores, and it's very rare you see a player in that role back up 3 scores. So he went 150 odd last week. What did he do the same thing the week before?
He did.
Like around
So
the
his
mark?
last 3 scores, Bills, 47 against Geelong, 119, 156. That's the Errol Goulden story.
He's due for a howler. That's all I'm saying. So if you trade him in, well, it's just it's a sad reality of a small forward, and that's just what we're gonna have to accept. He's a gun, but he does hurt you. So
Janath, would you bring him in this week, mate, or would you leave the spot open, mate?
I think that spot is too valuable to bring Goulden in. It hurts to say, but if you've got Zeeble or Sheasel there and you can move them back, then bring in Goulden. Otherwise, it's like just hold tight. You'll see why in a couple of weeks. Okay.
So we disagree there. Jonathan and Spills are saying probably leave that spot open. I'm saying you can go for it. So that means definitely leave the spot open, mate.
No.
Definitely leave that spot open. All right, Lee was keen to bring. G'day, Lee. How are you, champion? Was keen to bring in Clary this week, but not sure of the tag over the next 4 weeks. Is he going to lose more? Am I better to wait? He's got some good info here. So maybe coming up against Nash, I agree. Kept Bont a similar size to 6 touches and a half. Drew kept him 68 last year. Aish kept him to 85, and Carlton Hewitt has been clamping people lately. Kept Neil to a 60 last week. All very, very valid points, because I've been looking at these fixtures and actually thinking, I reckon they're pretty friendly here. Boys, what do you think? Does that scare you, that run of games? Or do you think Clary's just that good that whoever he comes up against, they won't be able to stop the great man? Are you concerned?
He was tagged on the weekend. He was tagged by Daviswell on the weekend. Yep.
I
thought it was a hard tag. It looked like a hard tag as well, but he still scored 136 because he had one clanger all game. You're like, these are clangers, but they just kept awarding him the contested possessions and all those, like, just score kept going up and up. And as a non-owner, it hurts. Own it hurts, but it just respect. Clary can beat a tag. I wouldn't worry too much.
Spills, you worried about this upcoming fixture over the next month, mate?
A little bit. Like, Drew's a good tagger. Nash has really improved. He's a silent killer. He's a real silent killer. Like, he's much better than he was last year. And Aish ruined Laird as well. So, if I'm being honest, I think DR this week. But I definitely see Oliver shrugging those tags. But as a non-owner, I hope he gets terrorized. But we'll see what happens.
I'm bloody bringing him in, mate. All right, 3 more to go, legend. Nick, g'day, buddy. Kanga Killer. Love that one, the Kanga Killer. Hi, legends. Thinking of JVR to Dylan Williams. I know it's a sideways rookie trade, but think he has more money to make and very good job security. What are your thoughts, please? I'm probably not really qualified too much on the Dylan Williams pick. I don't really know what he did on the weekend. He must have done something.
So good. He's
something
so good,
pretty
man.
impressive.
Bad miss.
How frustrating. We won't get into it, how frustrating it is that he got taken away from us. But
he got 85
I
again.
Really comment on this. Janath, any comments on this 85s. One?
Back-to-back 85s. I mean,
the ship sailed though, Janath.
I know the ship has sailed, but he looks so at ease in that role. They've got him. He's taking kick-ins. He's their main distributor of halfback. So I can't say no to him, because for any other team, if you said, all right, here's the team's main distributor in Supercoach for 250K, do you want it or not? The fact is that we have to swallow our ego and realize that we can't get him for 123K anymore. But if you want to bring him in at 250K and think that in that role he can get another 150K for you, then go for it, because that's what Supercoach is about. And if you back your gut, and you believe that Williams can get to 390K, then go for it.
Yeah, I think it's fine. A fair and reasonable assumption. I'm not going to talk him out of it, but I'm not going to do it myself personally.
I wouldn't do it myself, but there is scope as to why you would want to do it, because he is their main distributor now.
And negative 34 for break even as well. Unbelievable. But look,
still heaps to
well done. You, the only way that you probably got Williams in your side is if you went the week early. That's the only reason why you'd probably have him. All right, next one from Lockie. G'day, mate. Hey, legends. Thoughts on whether or not we should trade out Ashcroft? I feel like trading him Larger Archgrave. Thoughts on this, fellas? Okay, look, personally, mate, maybe Brisbane bias. I'm keeping Ashcroft because I've got faith in him. I think he's basically the most reliable on-field rookie that we've got, and I'm just calling Sheasel a keeper at this stage, so I'm not calling him a rookie. So I'm personally looking to hold, but I think there is nothing wrong, mate, nothing wrong with trading him out, but I like his on-field scores. I haven't got enough rookies that I feel comfortable playing on field over Ashcroft. So that's my opinion. Janath, anything different from you, mate?
He's played 3 games at the Gabba, and he's gone 105, 75, and 103. And his next 2 games are at the Gabba, Essendon and Gold Coast. Cool. I think that's enough. Cool. That's enough data to keep.
Yeah. Okay. And I have to hold him, I think. And if I want Anderson, I need to go Gawn in for Rowan. Otherwise, the only way the trade Anderson in is possible is by, unfortunately, getting rid of Ashcroft, which I do not want to do. There are Nick Davis. I feel like he will absolutely come into his own. Dacos maxed out last year. We cashed him in at a rookie price, and then he decides to be a premium top 6 for the rest of the season. So I don't want that to happen with Ashy. He's a star. Plenty to give. Gonna hold.
Cool. All right, now we got the last one from the Duke. Talk about a legend. You met the old Duke up in Adelaide, didn't you, Janice?
In Adelaide, yeah.
I've tweeted a question to you already. Mate, I don't know where that is. What I might do, Duke, is I'll get back to you on the other question, mate. I'll need to find it, mate, but I will get back to you, buddy. If I were to do a simple downgrade with Cowan, would you go Cowan to Atkins and bank 0K, Cowan to Weddle and pocket 74, or go Cowan to Drury and keep 102? I don't know if this is sitting in the fence. I'm going to go right in the middle there, and I'm going to go Cowan to Weddle.
Yeah.
Any different thoughts there, boys?
Yeah, do that.
It's the classic aggressive. It's the classic aggressive conservative move, because
I think Duke's actually got a pretty good ranking. I reckon he's close to the top 500.
He is. I reckon. Top 500. So yeah,
that's.
Don't take advice from me, then, Duke. I'm sitting at 22K.
How about we put it this way? If Atkins is going to see your field, go Cowan to Atkins, because I'm not confident field in Weddle or Drew.
That's a good point. Call. That's a really good point. I absolutely agree with that. Absolutely agree. So if you're fielding Atkins, mate, we're going him.
Yeah,
but
go
if
Atkins.
It's going to be simply a bench option. We're probably going Weddle. Look, I'd love to go Drury. I'd much rather prefer Drury. If I knew he's guaranteed the next couple of games, 100% I'd go him. But Weddle, if he is named this week, is guaranteed. So
I reckon he will have Cowan on the bench, right? But then if he decides to go Atkins, he'll be able to put Zeeble or Sheasel. I'm assuming he's got one of them in his defense, and then putting them forward would get Atkins on field. I assume that's what he's trying to do. So yeah, I don't mind it.
Yep, nice one, mate.
Awesome.
All right, Janath, back to you, my man.
Thank you, mate. So we got through all the questions for once. About bloody time, hey. We'll close up with some trades and captains. So just in terms of my trades, I've got it jotted down here. So it's one of 2, so just bear with me here. So it's going to be Mills plus Weddle, from Hollands plus Cowan or Goda. So that's option A. Option B is Clary or Noah plus Weddle plus Atkins, from an Ashcroft Chandler plus Hollands plus a Cowan or Goda. So basically it's Mills versus Clary Noah. And then do we trade an Ashcroft to facilitate that and also bring in Atkins at the same time?
Very, very interesting, mate. I like your line of thinking there, though, mate. I like your line of thinking. Well, originally, for my trades, as you guys know, I just want to get Oliver in 2. But what I'm looking to at this stage is out Ridley, Van Rooyen, and Rowan Marshall. And in would come Weddle, Gawn, and Oliver. But the big thing for me is the fact that I needed 2 round 14 buy players in my side. So that was a big caveat for me, the fact that it really worked well from a buy structure. Am I Rap having to do it? No. I wouldn't just be trading Marshall to Gawn just for the sake of it, but because it facilitates allowing me to get Oliver in, I'm doing it. Spills, how about yourself, mate? Trades for the week.
Really aggressive, being conservative for the last few weeks, so going to go aggressive for once, using my last boost this week, boys, but I need to make this happen. So out Connor McKenna, Juddy McVee, and boys, Rowan Marshall is going. I don't want to do it, but
okay.
I'm going to go through it. Yeah, it just opens up so much. Everything was discussed. It really helps my situation. So in Joshy Weddle, by a little bit of Will Day DPP, if you don't mind, put him in defence where he belongs. Noah Anderson comes in. I'm doing it, boys. He's in. And Maxi gone. So I'm going through with it.
Love it.
And then while we're on that, he's going to be my VC against West Coast. Not on the Saturday, on the Friday. For some bloody reason, there's two.
Max Gorn's not playing West Coast Bills. Oh, you're talking about Anderson? Or
Anderson, yeah.
You're talking about Anderson. Yeah.
Anderson, yeah. Yeah, sorry, yeah. The VC will be on Anderson on the Friday.
Yeah.
And the captain, how can you not fall back on Bonds? I mean, the bloke's 725K with a break even of 110 or 15. Just unbelievable. Going to make more money. It's unreal. So can't go wrong there, lads.
Love it.
Or mate. Maybe you can, but we'll see.
You're looking to VC someone on debut, Spills, and so am I. If I'm bringing in Clary, I'm getting him in the loop, right? So, look, if Big Connor Nash does manage to quieten him down a little bit, and believe me, probably lock it in this week because I'm trading the great man in. Same as you, Spills. It's just so obvious these days, isn't it? Get Bont in your loop. Get him in.
Yeah.
So it's Clary into Bont for me, boys. Janath, how about you, mate? Finish this off with your captain combo.
So just before I get to the captain combo, I did miss something about Cade Chandler. An interesting stat on Cade Chandler. He's played 5 games in the MCG for those thinking about trading him out. 93, 90, 85, and 104. So 4 games and he hasn't gone above 85. And he plays the Hawks like, if you want to get to Clary, you got to trade one of Chandler and Ashcroft. You're like, great.
I don't want to talk about Chandler.
You guys both don't have him. I'm sorry for bringing that up. But for those thinking out there to trade Chandler, just keep that in mind. In terms of my VCNC,
will do, mate. Will do.
in terms of bond, 5 scores equal to or above 122, and Jordan Dawson went 152 against Carlton. Dunks went 146 against Carlton. Our midfield clearly is vulnerable to a big score.
Deflating.
And then Jordan Dawson at home, he averages 146 at home in Adelaide.
That's disgusting.
Isn't it?
In 5 games. 5 games for 146 average. I think that's where the captain will lie.
Doherty over Dawson as a starting pick. Just shoot me now. Like, seriously, I'd lock Dawson in. And then, bloody Doherty had that big game. Damn you, Sam. But, hey, good to see him back last couple of weeks as well, Doherty. Good to see him.
Love the Doc.
Good man.
Well, boys, I reckon that wraps us up for this round 8 review, round 9 preview podcast. It's great having you boys on. As always, give everyone a follow, SuperCoach _DR, it Spills SC, and myself, Janath Fernando 4, as well as the Third Man Up page. Great having you guys all listen in or watch on YouTube. We'll see you guys all next week. Good luck for this week. Hope your teams all go well. Sign off.
Hey guys.
See you, boys.
Peace.